Good morning. My name is Chris McIntosh, the Emergency Management Industry Manager for Esri, and with me is Jeff Barani, the Emergency Management Technical Lead for Esri, and we'd like to welcome you to the third installment in our Emergency Management webinar series, where we're going to talk about preparing for winter weather. This is timely considering the challenges that we know that we're facing going into this year's winter season. So welcome everybody. So the purpose of this webinar series is to keep you informed of what we're doing with the technology for emergency management, the latest best practices and lessons learned. It's also to talk about specific areas of emergency management that have been deemed of interest by you, the user community. This one focusing on winter weather, the data, the applications and solution templates that are useful when preparing for and responding to winter weather. So we're going to go through a little bit of an overview of the winter weather challenge, and then Jeff Barani is going to do demonstrations of various applications and configurations that can be used in your operation centers and agencies as you're dealing with this year's season. And then we'll talk about what's coming next down the road, both for Esri and for our webinar series. The Esri's disaster response program is constantly engaged in events around the world. We are already working on preparing for what's forecasted to come this winter. And so we're going to share with you what we're doing and who we're working with and the kind of the things that we're preparing for, so that you can leverage those lessons learned and that effort to be better prepared. These webcasts are normally the first Thursday of every month. We're keeping these going every month. We have one set up for next month dealing with mobile applications. We'll talk about that at the end of the session a little bit more. Please let us know what you're interested in. Anything is fair game, but we're asking you to let us know what you're interested in and what you'd like to see more of, so that we keep these sessions relevant and current to your needs and expectations. So today, preparing for winter weather. This winter is forecasted to be an El Nino year. That means that it could be pretty significant in its impacts across the world and the United States specifically. It tends to mean more precipitation in the west, which needs the rain because of the drought, but not all at once. It could also mean more snow and warmer temperatures in the northeast, which can change weather patterns quite dramatically. So it's going to be a challenging year. The last major El Nino was in 97 and 98, and that led to some pretty significant incidents and damage in various parts of the country. So this is NOAA's outlook, the latest one from the Climate Prediction Center, and there you can see the warmer than normal projections on the left across the west and the northern tier of the United States. Cooler in the southeast, that will drive different types of precipitation. The warmer weather can lead to an increased chance of severe weather. So you have the temperature drivers that can affect the types of incidents we're going to experience. But then on the right you see the precipitation outlook, and that wetter, 50-60% wetter, or 50-60% probability of wetter than normal across the southern tier of the United States can lead to flooding conditions and increased snowfall conditions and a lot more precipitation than we've had in the past. So this could be a challenging season for all of us. So in preparation for that, we're working on different types of information products and applications that Jeff's going to start talking about, and of course these are all available for you to use, download and use in your operations center. So Jeff, go ahead.
Great, thanks, Chris. Well, welcome everyone. I just wanted to spend some time today sharing with you some of the data sources and applications and solution templates that may be useful for you as you start to prepare for winter weather, and hopefully those preparations are well underway. Also give you some ideas of some things to think about in terms of working with other jurisdictions, making sure that you have access to the information that you need to make decisions and monitor events as they're going on. So first of all, we wanted to highlight here some of the data feeds that are out there and available to you, and things that you may bring into your situation awareness applications, your operations dashboards, or web app builder, whatever you're using for situation awareness. And recently, with NOAA's release of their new Now Coast application, they've upgraded everything to ArcGIS Server and have done a really good job of organizing the data and providing some great services. So one of the things that we wanted to highlight here is some of the precipitation estimates map service. So they have this broken up into different time intervals. Right here we're looking at the 24-hour time interval that shows where the forecast of precipitation is going to be. So you can slice and dice however you want, 1 hour, 3 hour, 6 hour, 12 hours, out to I believe 72 hours to look at where it's going to rain. So this is really helpful to information to give you a prediction of, okay, when am I going to have rain in our jurisdiction, and how much might we get? Obviously, with the mudslides and debris flows in California a couple weeks ago, they were already dumped with quite a bit of rain over a short period of time. And this is an information source that can help you keep up to date on where you may be getting precipitation in your jurisdiction. So, rain is just one of the types of precipitation that we care about. Another key thing that we wanted to highlight here was some of the snow forecast data as well. So again, from the collection of NOAA data, we have a snow forecast data that's available as well. With the first significant snowfall in the Rockies and the Sierras over the past 24 hours, we're starting to see this hit through the course of the winter. Obviously, with Boston realizing an epic winter last year with over 100 inches of snowfall in a record amount. Also wanted to highlight that there's good forecast information for snow that's available as well, to let you know when you might get significant snow in your jurisdiction. One of the things that we don't have shown here is actually there's additionally one of the other national digital forecast database data sets that's available is ice. So that will be available in the proceedings. We've got that inventoried in our live feeds collection. So especially for folks in the southeast that may be more prone to ice, like in Georgia and other parts of the country, that is another forecast data layer that's out there and available for you as the when and how much ice you may get in your jurisdiction. So the good news is there's a lot of great data sets available from a forecast perspective for snow precipitation, rain precipitation, and ice precipitation. There are data sources out there to help you also look at what actually happened, the accumulation. We're still looking at highlighting some of the best sources to highlight, just showing the actual precipitation amount, so you can then do further impact analysis and that type of thing. So really excited that these three products are out there and available. Just wanted to make sure that we highlighted those for our user community and illustrate that these could be brought into your systems. Also, kind of bringing forth and talking about some of the things that we highlighted in our last webinar, some of the other live feeds that are out there. Obviously, stream gauges for showing where we might have high volumes of water coming across. That's one of the other live feeds. Real-time traffic, both in terms of incidents and as well as speed information that's out there and available to you. That's a part of ArcGIS Online. We were able to, when the mudslides happened in California a couple weeks ago, we were actually able to use this service to see where the roads were closed because there was no travel on them, and the sensors picked up that information, and it was conveyed forth by looking at and leveraging this particular map services. Also wanted to highlight that we have great live feeds from our business partners like AccuWeather. They provide really high resolution radar information that gives us a sense of where it may be raining right now, and and as what not only rain but snow and hail as well, along with their storm path data. So this is a great the set of feeds to help augment your situation awareness in your jurisdiction, and provided by our business partner AccuWeather. And really kind of thinking about the challenges of winter weather, it's, weather is certainly, part of the equation, but it's really pulling together information from different departments and organizations. And I view a Department of Transportation information as really kind of a critical set of feeds to be able to have access to. So what we're highlighting here is some of the examples of states that have implemented, great public information sites that show the current, road conditions throughout the state. Not only where there's incidents, where you're able to also monitor things like, traffic cameras and that type of thing. The other key thing is, what are the road conditions? What are the winter weather driving conditions? And those are all layers that are in these map applications that you see here. And I think the challenge to many of you is then to how can you integrate this information inside of your situation awareness applications, and that probably a call to action to work with your Department of Transportation counterparts to make sure that this information can be brought in and integrated with inside your system. So that's definitely something to look at and work with your partners in the Department of Transportations, both at the state level but also at the city and county level, to make sure that you can bring in and get access to this information and to help enhance your situation awareness as winter weather approaches. Certainly Department of Public Works would be another key, agency to look at how you can integrate with, and we'll talk more about that here in a little bit with some snowcop examples. While we're here, I did want to, spend a few minutes here talking about some of the capabilities of ArcGIS Online to share information across different accounts. So say, for example, you had an ArcGIS Online for organization accounts for the Emergency Management Agency, for the Department of Transportation Agency, for Public Works, just in general county government. You can share information across all those different organizations through a federation, and that is achieved by having membership across those organizations into a core set of groups or just a single group. And the way to do that is to invite members from those other organizations into those groups. This is something that we did and was demonstrated during the Central U.S. Earthquake Consortium Capstone 2014 exercise last year. This is also something that we started to use during the flooding response for the flooding in Colorado in 2013. So, definitely a powerful way to, share information across agencies. So, in this theme and the spirit of preparedness today, we just wanted to highlight that this is something to look into. Are you prepared to do this? Are you prepared to share information across different groups in your region or jurisdiction? And just wanted to highlight here that this kind of best practice. A couple things to note to make this to work. When your profile, your ArcGIS Online profile, must be set to public for you to be discoverable, so other folks can find you and add you to groups. So when your group settings, make sure you take a look at that, and that's documented in the help on how to do that. Also, Bernie Zakowski has a good blog post on how to set up your profile the best way. Put in picture and contact information, and really make sure that you have a good identity and a good ArcGIS Online presence with your identity. So you get a sense of who you are and that you're speak with authority for your jurisdiction. Also consider to have a good tagging strategy as a part of your governance. Making sure that you're tagging items with whatever incident you're responding to, or the jurisdiction that you represent, or the business function. Transportation, shelters, that type of thing. So. well, more to come on at future dates, but just wanted to spend a few minutes here highlighting the importance of sharing information across organizations, and many jurisdictions are starting to get this set up. They have Word documents on their site that give instructions, contact details for the person that's administering the main group inside their jurisdiction. So all things to consider as you prepare to share information for responding to and preparing for solution template. Certainly, key apps like the operations dashboard and the story map journal, I think will be keeping to share information. This webinar, a SNOCOP solution from the local government side, as well as the flood planning template from the Emergency Management Solutions collection. So you'll see those demonstrated here in just a minute. So this is the list of demonstrations that we're going to look at, and we'll give you a tour of some of these applications. So the first thing that the first demonstration that we wanted to look at is the operations dashboard. So here in this case we're looking at a variety of live feeds information across the US. So we get a sense of some of the winter weather and watches and warnings that are happening in Colorado and in New Mexico. We can see some of the live precipitation that's coming in from our business partner AccuWeather, and we can see we've got some snow here in North Dakota. And for the purposes of illustration here, we're monitoring facilities, in this case Esri facilities across the US, and we can see where it may be impacting any of the facilities right now. We've got one current alert here in the Miami office with a rip current statement at the beach. So I guess that's kind of out of character for our winter weather seminar, but an alert nonetheless. A couple of additional things that we wanted to highlight here in this view is the ability to bring in other information sources. So also wanted to look at the forecast precipitation here over the next 72 hours, and we can see here in the southeast that we'll have some rain. So again, just taking advantage of that live feed that we talked about a few minutes ago for precipitation forecasts. In a similar manner, the skiers will appreciate the snowfall forecast over the next 6 hours. So these are just simply additional live feeds of information that you can bring in and help to paint your picture from a situation awareness perspective on where you may be experiencing moisture in your jurisdiction. Chris, did you want to say anything about this particular view or application before we move on?
The importance of this allows weather to be placed in context to your individual needs of your facilities or your areas of responsibility. So if there's a weather alert or a weather warning, you don't really need to care unless it's affecting something that you care about. So this allows that analysis and that process to be done in real time, and then let you know when you need to pay attention to something. When I used to be in emergency management, I would get an alert every time there was a short-term weather warning across the state that I was responsible for. And in the summer, when you had a severe line of storms moving across the state, that was a lot of alerts, most of which really didn't mean much. This way, you're only getting the ones that you really care about, and it's allowing the technology to work for you.
Great. Thanks, Chris. The next application that I wanted to show was a configuration of the story map journal. So in looking at and doing some research on some of the data sources that are out there and available, just wanted to highlight those here in a story map journal. Obviously here on the first page we're linking directly to the NOAA webpage specific to El Nino. Additionally, in this story map journal, we've also included some other hazards data that's out there and available. So the US GIS has been working hard to inventory hazards from recent fires. So they've done a good job of modeling the risk of debris flow from recent wildfires over the past 3 years. So what we're looking at here is the probability of debris flow by basin. So we see the different water basins here and see the level of probability of debris flow in any of these basins. So an additional set of resources to help you understand risk here on the west coast of additional risk posed by the recent wildfire. So all of this analysis has been done. The ArcGIS server services and data are available from this website here to give you a sense of your risk from recent fires. Another interesting data set that we found out there that was out there and available was from 2003 in the Los Angeles River Basin, looking at soil slip susceptibility, and obviously red being the higher risk here. Again, we've got another view of the precipitation forecast over the next 24 hours, and we can see where that might be most significant, with the different colors representing the darker the color, the more intense the rain forecast, the rain amount that's forecasted over the next 24 hours. So using things like the story map journal are a great way to organize information into briefing products like we're showing here, to encapsulate different sources of information. Here's a 6-hour preset forecast. Again, a more focused view of the 6-hour snowfall forecast, with a significant amount in not only Denver, but the Denver metro area, but North Dakota. Certainly, also wanted to highlight that obviously slope is a contributing factor to risk, and slope and some of the other various terrain products are available as image services with inside our ArcGIS Online that you can add into your applications for not only visualization but also for analytic purposes. And so, just a visualization here of the slope around the Los Angeles area and in the area where the mudslide happened a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, flood zones are another kind of important layer, and we'll be talking about that here in more detail and with some of the flood apps. But just wanted to highlight here that FEMA has a great map service that you can add right in that shows the 100-year and 500-year flood zones in various areas, and so that map service is available to add in, directly straight away, as well as the data is available to download from FEMA for further analysis. So just highlighting not only the services and context here in the story map journal, but also a look at some additional data layers for risk and hazards that may be appropriate if your jurisdictions in that part of the country. So next we want to move over and talk about another set of tools. So obviously Boston, is I'm sure everyone has heard, experienced an epic winter last year, and here's a story map journal that the city put together to really kind of tell the story of their winter last year in 2015. And I think they've done an excellent job blending together here not only real-time real map data along with rich media elements that really kind of help tell the story. So here we see some of the emergency parking information. We get a sense of how they ranked in terms of the snowfall and what records they broke and how significant this was. Additionally, some more details on their snow removal activities, where their yards were, where their vehicles reside. A look at here in a video the snow farms that they had set up to take the snow to. Where they had to change directions on some of the streets to accommodate traffic flow, given the significance of the snowfall accumulation last winter. I won't play this here, but I encourage you to, we're tweeting out this link, but to take a look at this video on the technology they use, and we'll get a look at what that looks like in a little bit different context here in a minute through the SnowCop application. But they put together a really nice video here showcasing the use of the technology to help monitor and optimize snow removal activities during their winter last year. So we'll take a look at that here next. So this is what I wanted to bring up here is a try it now version of the SnowCop solution template. So you can see here that this is a configuration of the operations dashboard, and this has been wired up to show some status of different district information across the area. It's also wired to the trucks in real time, so through geo events and connecting to the AVL systems and the trucks, we get visibility into where the vehicles are at any one time. It also kind of shows the progress through the course of the jurisdiction, how the various districts are progressing with snow removal, operations based on current conditions. Can also get a sense of where there's complaints coming in from the citizens, where they're saying that more snow removal is needed. So this is just an example of configuring the technology and bringing together this picture on snow operations here using the ArcGIS platform. So we're able to access some of the key data layers. Again, this is kind of the ops dashboard view for inside of an operations center, or you can get access to this on mobile devices. The key system integration with the snowplows themselves through integrating with AVL, really to kind of give a complete picture of what's going on with snow removal operations to help deal with the amount of snow and keep the citizens up to date. So Chris, do you want to say anything on SnowCop here before we move on to our next example?
Well, as many of you know, snow removal is an incredibly complicated operation, both clearing the streets and then staging the snow itself for disposal. So applications like this, and this is just a configuration of the operations dashboard, really demonstrate why a mission-specific focused application can be really helpful in solving a defined problem within your broader emergency operations. So using mission-focused applications for the various functions that you're responsible for across the winter weather problem is proven to be a way to effectively manage efficient operations. So this is a great example of that.
Great. Thanks, Chris. We'll have some more information links at the end of the webcast. So next, we want to move on and talk about some of the work that our water resources team has done in looking at the flood problem. So here we have a tab story map to illustrate a couple of things. So one, the first main tab here is highlighting where's the flood, when is the flood coming. So looking at a combination of not only the forecasted precipitation information, but also being able to link into the hydrology network, the stream gauges, and get a sense of when that might be coming. And then another key part is looking at what the flood will look like. So in this case, they've used elevation data from a variety of sources in the ArcHydro tools to be able to look at different flood stages in a particular jurisdiction. So for example, what's the 15-foot stage look like? What does the 20-foot flood stage look like? What does the 30-foot moderate flooding stage look like? And here we see the major flood stage. So this is basically the results that the team did on using some of the data that was available through elevation and LiDAR in combination with the ArcHydro tools to get to these results. So obviously this is gives you a picture of what's going on, but what's next more important is then to being able to do the analytics that go along with this. So from a planning perspective here, before the flood happens, we'll be able to get a sense of the amount of people and homes that will be impacted at the various flood stages. So again, here, taking the results of the analytics through ArcHydro, running those analysis through geo-enrichment, and then presenting the results here using the impact summary map, really helps give planners and constituents in the jurisdiction a sense of what could be impacted at the different flood stages. So a very powerful way to convey the results of analysis and powerful tools here, really, to an easy to use, easy to kind of digest way. So not only is it taking a look at here in these results the people that would be impacted, but also having a sense of how will infrastructure be impacted as well. What will the public works folks need to do to keep people out of the area? Also get a sense of what can you do to help plan your response. So here's kind of the web view of some of that information, where you might set up roadblocks, where you might do things to keep people out of the area for key things. So this tab Story Map Journal is just one way to look at this information. Another compelling way to be able to visualize and access this information is here through this 3D scene viewer as well. So again, no plugin required, just directly through the web browser, we can get a sense of in a three-dimensional aspect how different facilities may be impacted, by the flooding. So, with all the advances in data, the rich, data that's available now here from many, sources, we get a more detailed look at potential flooding in a way that we've never been able to see before in terms of the data that's available now, and with the compute resources and the tools available from ArcHydro, really a way to give you a sense of how your jurisdiction may be impacted, and again, now just presenting that in an easy to use, easy to access way here through the web. So again, these are the results of some of the work that our water resources, or the great work that our water resources team has done to pull together a set of tools to make available for you for your flood planning analysis and dealing with that aspect of potential winter weather. So, Chris, anything you want to comment on from the flood perspective?
Flooding is all about preparation, so tools like this allow you to see what could happen before it actually does, and then use this information to see with affected populations and infrastructure and those kind of things that are the impact of flooding. So this set of tools hopefully will allow you to get ahead of the problem going into this season, given the potential for increased precipitation across the country.
Great, thanks, Chris. And the last tool that I wanted to show here in this particular demonstration section is some of the flood planning tools. So our solutions team worked with some users in the upper Midwest to look at some desktop tools from a planning perspective to basically take a look at based on projected flood levels in either the results from NOAA or the results from some of these ArcHydro tools could be used to generate these flood polygons at different stages. We can now start to get a sense of what resources may be needed to deal with things at different flood levels. What infrastructure may be affected, both in terms of sewer, stormwater here, for example. What temporary levees maybe need to be constructed to deal with the flooding. Who lives in the area? Are there any special needs populations or folks requiring additional assistance from evacuation perspective? These tools help you do the analysis and generate some of the reports to show things at different levels. So again, this is something that was developed a couple of years ago as a result of flooding in the upper Midwest, but still germane today in terms of the potential effects of flooding that we may have going forward. Chris, before we jump back into some of the slides, I wanted to see if were there any questions from the audience that we wanted to field at this time?
Well, we have one right now of, can we download the flood management story map so they can configure it for themselves?
The tab story map journal is definitely a template or a story map journal that's out there today that can be configured, and we'll show the flood landing page, a link to the flood landing page here towards the end of the seminar, and you can access that website, directly, and then use that as a guide to create a version of that for your own jurisdiction. So yeah, good question. Okay. Okay, so those were that was a quick set of demonstrations to give you some visibility into some of the tools and templates and applications that are out there, that the data sources that are out there to help you deal with the potential flood. So as a standard part of our emergency management webinar series, there's a couple of things that we normally do. This month, the team's really excited to announce their first release of a new set of applications for situation awareness. So check out the new situation awareness suite of applications that are on the ArcGIS for Emergency Management website, and the URLs are there. So it's actually a suite of applications. And Chris, did you want to explain that a little bit more, the philosophy behind these new set of templates?
So they are a set of mission-focused applications that are these applications are designed to be the new common operating picture. Previously, a common operating picture, or COP, was thought of as the one big map in the front of the room up on the big screen. And we found that became too big and too complicated for the various and diverse functions of an operations center. So this shift to focused applications based upon your roles and responsibilities, if you're in various ESFs, a command staff, planning section, executive, you need to see information in a different way based upon what it is you need to do, or who you need to brief, or the questions you need answered to do your specific job. So these applications are designed to be applicable to the various functions across emergency management, yet they all still share information, share web maps through the ArcGIS platform. So work that is being done in an ESF or in the planning section can be consumed by a person using a different application in a different emergency operations center or at a different level of the ICS structure. So they're all interoperable with each other, and they all share information, but they're focused and specific to the various tasks. So this is very exciting because they're all off-the-shelf applications, can be downloaded, configured, and be very quickly and very effectively. So it allows them to be used not only for a specific function, but also for a specific task. And we've seen in certain responses where an application is put together to respond to a specific briefing or meeting, and then it's gotten rid of because its usefulness and its use was accomplished, and now they need something else. So this app-driven world is a little bit of a paradigm shift in emergency management, but these applications that are being released are enabling that to be accomplished and used much more quickly and effectively.
Yeah, so just wanted to make sure that we highlighted that today. I mean, for many of you that may have downloaded the Flex COP in the past, this is a great new modern way to implement some things in a new way, using the platform and leveraging some of the new tools and applications that are out there. So definitely check out the solution site for new updates on ArcGIS for emergency management. Another key standing thing that we like to do on this webinar series is to highlight recent disaster maps that have either been made by Esri or the user community in response to recent disasters. So we've got a standing group, a public group on ArcGIS Online that provides some examples, and we curate that and add new examples to that all the time. So this morning there's a couple of key new applications that we want to highlight, both from the floods in South Carolina in addition to the refugee crisis in Europe. So I was really impressed by what the Red Cross was put together here in the Story Map Journal. The Story Map Journal has seemed to be the darling application of the emergency management world that we've seen, this year. And this is a great configuration of this application to characterize what the Red Cross is doing for the flooding response. We see information on where they have facilities, the various district boundaries. Um, Bringing in some media elements as well to tell the story. Um, from an operations perspective, not as much is going on in terms of open shelter, so we don't see that, right now. But this was certainly filled with more information during when the actual flooding was going on, and we saw more details of that information. They also were able to leverage information from the user community, bringing in information from Civil Air Patrol photos, as well as damage assessment data from NGA and FEMA to give a sense of where the damage happened due to flooding across the state, both in Colombia and as well as along the coast. Another application that we're looking at here is this story map tour example. This is housed in the South Carolina Emergency Management Division, and we see, here some photos that help give a sense of some of the observed damage. A lot of the dams that were, affected, stressed, or damaged by the flood. So here, giving context with some of the photos that were taken from the air and showing where that information what was in the map. So again, the story map tour is one of the top 10 information products that we see that is deployed and used to characterize the damage after a various disaster. In this case, really sobering view of the damage in South Carolina. In conjunction with that, post-event imagery is always something that folks are looking for after a disaster. And so here in the swipe map, we're able to look at both post-event and pre-event, imagery. In this case, from our partner Woolpert had collected some post-event imagery after the floods. And so this particular application gives a quick tour of some of the damage that was, observed from aerial imagery here showing before and after the flood. So, obviously getting this information as quickly as possible is really a challenge and a need for the emergency management community, and this is a great way to visualize the unfortunate damage in these various areas. But so just a quick look at some of the data, and this is again one of the examples that is in the examples group that we've highlighted here from the South Carolina Emergency Management Division. So that's one set of examples. The other disaster application that we wanted to highlight here is from the International Organization for Migration. So this is the main UN agency to deal with refugee crisis, and they've shared a great set of information to help characterize the situation in Europe here. So we see an update on some of the recent trends, some of the transit routes and methods that refugees are taking to get to Europe, and some of the challenges that they may face. Some of the figures on the amount of people that actually are displaced. A look at obviously you've heard many terrible stories of people getting lost at sea as they're crossing the Mediterranean, and here's just a view of where some of those incidents have been reported. The broader office network of IOM, and a look at the situation from where folks are fleeing. So again, just wanted to highlight this is an example of using some of the story maps to convey very challenging situation that's evolving in Europe and the Middle East, and a great way of kind of presenting that information to increase understanding and some of the resources needs that are available there. So again, as a part of the normal webcast, these are just some of we like to highlight some recent examples that are out there in the user community, and we'll continue to do so, and it will not only index those in that ArcGIS Online group that we mentioned, but also have been tweeting out the links to some of these using the Esri EM hashtag today. So those were some of the recent disaster examples that we wanted to show. So I think we're getting toward the end of our planned content, but Chris, did you want to talk about some of the next steps and if there's any questions?
The next steps is the solutions that Jeff has shown here. There's the URLs there that they're available at. Please take note of those, especially the ArcGIS for flood that was referred to earlier. Next webinar in this series will be using Collector for ArcGIS. We often get questions, more times than not, about field data collection and how that can be used to do real-time situational awareness, real-time information gathering in a disaster. So we're going to focus an hour next month on using Collector and the various ways that it can be used to do exactly that. And it's not just in damage assessment. We call that application Collector because it's got very broad applications that we use for damage assessment, but also for special events and for incident management and various different things. So that's going to be, I think, a pretty interesting session, and anticipate a robust conversation. If you have ideas or suggestions for further on webinars, please let Jeff or I know. We're constantly looking for your input and your feedback. What are the things that you want to see? What are the things that you want us to re-emphasize or spend some more time on, or just suggestions in general. Our goal here is to build an ongoing dialogue between you, the users in the community, and us. So there's our contact information. Please email us anytime. We are on social media. Please follow us on Twitter. We've been tweeting about this event today, but we also tweet out when things are happening around the world, when responses are occurring, when there's events occurring. So it's a good way to follow what's happening across the broader community and maybe get involved. So please follow us on Twitter. And then a reminder, next year's the Users Conference in San Diego is early. It's in June. The National Security Summit, which focuses on national security and public safety issues, is a pre-conference to the Users Conference. So that's June 25th through 28th, and it's liable to sneak up on you if you're used to it always being in mid-July. So the conference is before the 4th of July next year. The call for papers has already gone out and closed, so it's happening very quickly. So just mark that on your calendars, and hopefully we'll see you there. Jeff, anything you want to add?
I think that's yeah. Just wanted to highlight a couple of other resources to share, and we'll be, tweeting those out. So, yeah.
Yep. So we were already getting some good things on the question line about our next session, Survey 123. And one question is, does the ArcHydro tool need to be downloaded and any special permissions to use it, Jeff?
Well, you'll have to check on the water resources page. I'm not an expert in that, but it's an extension to the ArcGIS desktop to be able to run that, and we've got specialists that can help people use and prepare the tools. There's also specialized training for ArcHydro as well. So I believe it's a free extension to download to add on to ArcGIS for desktop, and then there's training courses that are available to help kind of take you through that for ArcHydro.
And these presentations are recorded, and if you need a copy of that, please let us know. We get a lot of questions about that.
Yep, the recordings for these will be on the emergency management industry site under the videos section. So those we'll maybe just take a minute and show that real quick. So our previous two seminars have gone on that site. In this session, we'll go there as well. So under emergency management industry. And if you scroll down here to videos, these webinars are getting added to the list here. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Here's resources that are available for you. I've shared that live feed URL with a few of you on the question board, but there's where they are for you. We are always responding to disasters around the world, and we maintain a catalog of examples of those responses that are indicative of lessons learned and best practices, so that you can go and find them there at the Disaster Maps Examples group. The Disaster Response Program is available. Should you need assistance, please let us know. Please go take a look at that and make sure that URL is in your bookmarks, so that if you need help, you know where to go to ask for it. ArcGIS for Emergency Management Solution, as Jeff mentioned, there's new things on there. Those are the applications and templates that are available to download and configure those mission-focused applications that that are the new common operating picture. And as I said, follow us on Twitter, where updates to all of these things are put out, so you can be made aware of the latest developments and situations that we're working with and responding to. So we'd really like to thank you for your time. It looks like we have answered all the questions that we've had. If you have any that come to you later, or if you're watching the video and something pops in your mind, please let Jeff or I know, and we'll make sure to get those back to you as soon as possible. Hopefully you're all finding these sessions useful. I think it's important for us to be able to continue to let you know what we're doing and hear from you about what you think. So Jeff, do you have any last things to share?
You know, we hope you found some of these resources helpful, and we wish you success in preparing for winter this year, and hopefully you're able to respond successfully if something were to happen. So, you know, keep letting us know. There's a lot of teams works very hard to make sure that there's resources and tools and support, you know, available to you. And thank you for attending today.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a safe weekend.